So the off-season for Blackburn Rovers has been a bit of a roller coaster with the loss of the CEO Steve Waggett and the potential loss of some big players, including Tyree Stoner. But what's ahead for Blackburn Rovers as we look to 25-26? Well, today we're going to find out. That's right, folks, back once again with another video. Today we take a look at, of course, Blackburn Rovers, the future, the blueprint, what's in store in 2025, 2026. That's right, we'll get to it, all of it, in a second. If you're new, where you've been, smash your subscribe, one-stop shop for Blackburn Rovers, and Blackburn Bloody Rovers. Got it all here under one rooski. That's right, I managed to grab a hold of the lads over the summer and talk about Blackburn Rovers with the future, what's ahead with, of course, new CEO, the loss of key individuals from last season, and of course the loss of the women's game. That's right, we're going to talk about that and of course much more in a second. If you're new, where you've been, smash your subscribe, and a big shout out to the members and the patrons. You know who you are, and if you want to help out the channel, take a little look down below in your description and you can be part of the party. But before we jump into that, we have been working on a lot of things off camera, behind the scenes, including some away day travel. Eddie, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Ewood Eddie here with some news on our brand new scheme we're looking to implement in the 2025-2026 campaign. What is it? Well, it's affordable away day travel. That's right, us at Blackburn Rovers Seas hope to implement this brand new scheme for each and every one of the away days taking place in the upcoming campaign. Right now, we're just in the planning stages and we want to know if you are interested in away day travel for the upcoming season. Now, what I need you to do now is, of course, go to this link on the screen right about now. It's a QR code, or maybe drop down in the old description to follow the URL and fill out your name and, of course, maybe some contact information that we can reach out to you when we are 100% committed. Just a reminder that this is just the planning stage of this service. Nothing is 100% as of yet. But the more numbers and the names that we get down in the next few weeks, then, of course, then we'll have the ability to make this happen for you guys. Again, looking at what's available at the moment, this does look like an affordable option if we can get the support from you guys. And again, it's just a fantastic way for you to support the channel in another way. Back to you, Dirk.
Thanks again, Eddie, for your deep dive into that. And of course, if you are interested, take a look on the old down below in the links to see if you want to get your name on the list for some affordable away day travel. But now let's bring in the boys and talk about all things Blackburn Rovers.
So, Georgie, of course, this has been a while. It has been in a few weeks, months even, and there has been a lot going on behind the scenes, including the removal of a notorious figure. It depends on which side of the fence you are. Of course, Steve Waggett no longer with us. He's of course packed it in. Rumour has it there's a lot of stuff going on because of his resignation. But what's your cold take on his departure? And is it a good thing or a bad thing for Blackburn Rovers?
Who knows? Who knows is my honest answer. I mean, it was always on the cards. I think Steve Waggett was in his 70s, wasn't he, anyway? So it was always going to be his last job. Whether it's been brought forward, who knows? And again, I mean, I kind of gave a reaction as soon as the news broke. And I was I was doing a Denver. I was a little bit sat on the fence as to which way to take the news. Because I don't think we'll actually see how much he's done or how little he's done, for a good few, maybe months, if not a year. I think I've noticed that we seem a little bit more proactive in terms of getting videos out there on Instagram, Facebook, and all that good stuff about the players coming back in training and what have you. We seem to have a bit more autonomy potentially as to what's being posted on social media. Maybe that used to have to go across Steve Waggett's desk first. But no, he's I think he's had a tough gig, and I think this is why I'm so sat on the fence with it, because has he been holding us back, or has he actually been doing us a massive favour and the new guy in? I think it's interesting that we haven't appointed anybody already. Nothing official anyway. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. The only thing I would say is I was speaking to one of my colleagues, Coventry City fan, and when I said that we've lost our chief executive, Steve Waggett, he said, yeah, he was a good bloke, and that was when Coventry were in a mess, sort of thing. So if that's anything to go by, then yeah, maybe we've lost a good one. Do you know what I mean? I've said it time and time again. Sometimes you've got to be careful what you wish for. I wasn't a big fan of Sam Allardyce's football after watching it for a number of years, and yeah, it was time for a change. And when Venky's came in, I was thinking, yeah, now's a great chance. But it came back to bite me on my arse. Because after that, God, what I'd do to have Sam Allardyce back and watch that kind of football, but still be in the promised land, as it were. So. It's a really, really tough question to answer at this early stage, Dirk. My gut feeling, if you want me to, I think he's done a pretty good job. I think I'm not going to say we're going to suffer, but I think he's if you cast your mind back 7 years ago, I think he's made some decent appointments at the time. Yes, there's been a couple of silly moves with the transfer market and things like that. But yeah, I think on the whole, I think he'll be sorely missed. Is my gut feeling.
Yeah, and here he is in glory, of course. I'm going to bring you in there, Denver. The early indication is some names have been banded about, and I've got a couple of pictures of the fellas that have been linked with taking over. And I actually just had a quick chat with somebody offline here who seems to sometimes have his ear to the ground over at Ewood, and it does appear that we about at least 2, maybe 3 months out before we even find a replacement for Mr. Wagger. But the names have been banded about at the moment are this guy here, which I believe is Andrew Parkinson. Currently, I think he's still on the books and still running the show at Plymouth. And of course, again, you can look at that a couple of ways. Plymouth have had a good couple of seasons. But then, of course, they hired Wayne Rooney in amongst all that madness. So you can take it from a pinch of salt from that one. And then another name being linked at the moment is this guy, Michael Bain, which has got a notorious sort of history, or at least I don't know what kind of word. Maybe notorious is not the right word. But anyway, he was on the books of Sunderland when they were on a big old downward slump. So it could be a case. I don't know. The names aren't ringing or singing with the greatness at the moment. But what about you, Devon? What are your thoughts on Waggett, the legacy that he's going to leave, and maybe is the grass going to be greener for us, or is it going to be browner?
I think. I mean, look. I think for me personally, I mean, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I think the problems lie on, or the problems that are lying within the club are much higher than Steve Waggett. Like ultimately, look, it's where it's hard to judge. Like we've got the fans, we've got the people who are thinking, we should be doing much better than where we are, and what's the ambition of the club. But then ultimately, that Steve Waggett's only got the tools that he's dealt with, right? He's got the cards that he's dealt with. He's got what he's got, and from where we are, looking at other clubs around us, and you look at the positions of the clubs and other owners are in, he's done an okay job. Yes, we're unhappy about the stability of the club with the Eustace left and all the drama behind the scenes, but how much of that is Steve Waggett's doing? It's one of those where you look at it. If Steve Waggett comes in and does what happened when we were in League One and we come back up and we do really well. We don't talk about this kind of stuff, but because we're stagnant again and we've just nearly missed out on playoffs multiple times in a few years, and then Eustace leaving has kind of flared it all up again. And you just look at it and go, look at the bigger picture. We'll see what happens now. Ultimately, look, if we get someone in good now and we end up in the Premier League, we end up winning the Champions League in 4 years' time, we'll look and go, yeah, do you know what? Getting rid of Steve Waggett was the correct decision, but easily it could go the other way. We signed this Plymouth, guy who owns Plymouth and Sunderland, and they both got relegated. They relegated their clubs ultimately under their tenure at their club. So I don't think they're highly sought at both areas. And we end up back in League One again, and we're going, why do we do that? Why do we not just keep Steve Waggett when we were touching playoffs? And that's football ultimately. And I just think, look, it's too early to call. It could be a good decision. It could be a bad decision. It was time to go. If I was Steve Waggett, I would have left with all the, fan. What's the word I'm looking for? Just the anger being directed towards him and Gusted. And was it fair? Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. We don't know how much of an effect he had really on the club and his specifics and his how much of the strings he had alongside Craig Broughton, and so on. So, but the major issues, of course, are with the owners and the decision making at the end of the day. And look, this could be a really good decision from them, or from Steve and from the club. I don't know how much it was mutual or the club both decided, but look, when I seen him left, I wasn't surprised. I would have done the same in the same situation with the fans, and we'll see. That's really all we can say.
Yeah,
I mean, you say the fans. Sorry to interrupt here, but you say the fans. Let's be honest. When it was all this Wagger out and all that good stuff, there's only about 200 down at the front of the Blackburn end. Do you know what I mean? So that's, I'm not questioning their loyalty to the club or anything like that, but it wasn't a mass protest or something like that. Steve Waggett not coming to a game doesn't change anything for me, sort of thing. Whether he's there, whether he's not, sort of thing. What does change for me is what the players are feeling on the pitch, sort of thing. All that unrest and things like that. That just reverberates. It doesn't matter if one guy's there or not, sort of thing. So, I think it's a sad state of affairs to watch, sort of thing, and we don't need that crap. I think it's human nature to remember all the rubbish stuff that Steve Waggett's done, but also I think he's done some good stuff. Convincing Tony Mowbray to stay when we went down into League One as well. I believe there was a release clause if we did get relegated, which I think, looking back now, it was inevitable that we were always going to get relegated in that particular season. But for him to actually, say to Tony Mowbray, you got us, not him single-handedly, but he retained a lot of players there and had the belief that we could get straight back up. And, I've said for a long time now, God forbid, if we'd stayed down any longer than that one season, we would have seen the whole squad and team just diminish into absolutely nothing. So, I think my biggest frustration with Steve Waggett at the beginning was the lack of communication to the fans, and just what was generally going on in the club. Now, that never got to an acceptable level, but it got to it has been ever so slightly improved, especially over the last 2 years, sort of thing. So, yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's going to be, time will tell. But my gut feeling at this very, very early stage is, I think we will be sorry that he went.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm like you. I think it could reap its benefits, but it could also reap some major more disasters around the corner. But what I can say is probably it could be time for a change in that area. Maybe a younger CEO who's more in touch with the modern world or modern ways of life could be the right ticket for Batman Rovers. But one thing that appears to be the final straw with Waggett was this. That is, of course, if I can get it on the screen, the women's team. That's right. So
I thought
yes,
it was going to be a picture of Denver.
No, it's the women's team.
The final straw, it was Denver.
Rumor has it that this was the final straw that caused his resignation. That he was not going to. He was. Well, let's not bury the lead here. So the women's team got defunded and have now been pushed all the way down to the lower echelons of women's football. And Waggett was not a fan of this decision, and I think it's something words to the like of, I'm not saying this, or I'm not going to, whatever. But basically, this led to him announcing his departure early doors. So it does seem that he was an advocate of the women's game. I don't know. I'm not putting words in his mouth or anything like that, but this could be, and maybe puts him in a bit of good light. Denver, what's your take on, of course, first and foremost, the removal of Blackburn Rovers women's team? I think they were in the second tier, and of course, and Waggett's alleged stance on that.
Well, so this is, of course, an interest of mine just because of the industry, of course, that I work in, and I work for a women's team, not of Blackburn Rovers' caliber, of course, but still a significant, Welsh side, and as a Blackburn fan, I was really gutted. Look, I'm not saying, I'm one of these fans who I don't get to every men's game. I try to get as many games as I can. I'm not an avid Blackburn Rovers women fan. I'm not going to all the games myself personally, but that down to commitment to work and whatever, and of course my true passion for Blackburn Rovers is in the men's team. Saying that though, the fact that we've not been able to, you know, we're in a position where the women's team is the women's football is definitely growing without a shadow of a doubt, and later on down a few years time, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be in the case of it's gonna bring money to the club. And you just look at it now. You look at the likes of your Chelsea's, your Arsenal's, who have fully established women's teams, and it might compare, nothing compares to the men's numbers, but it's definitely significant. And especially if you want to promote the club in the aspect of, and if you want to sell onto the club, the fact that you've got rid of an asset of the club in the fact that the women's team and the position that they were in is always going to hurt the club. And it's just not a great look. And especially as we've announced that we're not going to be able to, fund our women's team, and the decision to be made. And I think today, of all days, I think the manager and the assistant managers and the assistant head coaches have all left their roles, understandably. I don't know how much of that on both parts, but Burnley have literally just made their women's team full time, and that's the thing where you look at that, they're making the women's team full time. Why can't we? And I know it's an owner's decision, and that's the output. They seem to feel like, look, and I've seen comments from other Blackburn fans and so on saying, oh look, let's put all the money towards the men's team. That's where the revenue is. Blah 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 blah. And it's like, look down in 15, 20 years time, where is that revenue going to be? Do we want to be one of the big clubs in the women's league? We want to be playing in the Premier League against the Barcelonas, the Arsenals, and so on and so forth. And it's there for us to do if you really want to do it. And we decided not to do it because it was too much of a cost. We prioritised the men's side of things, which is sad for women's football in general, and the girls who, a set of fans that potentially we could have had are now maybe disinterested and have a look elsewhere. But yeah, it's just like it is disappointing. Especially I wasn't happy. I was really not happy when the decision was made to do that. I could see it coming, and I understand it from that perspective. But it's definitely going to harm us in the long run more than it will do good. Yes, it might cost us a few, however much money. I don't think they were on loads, but the disparity before that, like I've had friends who have played for Blackburn. I'm not going to name names, but like who've played there, come to me because they coach with me now, and they said how bad it was. Like just the environment in general, the payments, and so the women's team had to go and train with. They were based not at Brookhall but the academy, so they would be based on the academy side of things, the boys side of things, where the senior had their own place, and it wasn't good for a long period of time. So it's not necessarily like this is a big surprise. I think some of the women's players have voiced their stuff on social media. And I know a few of them myself. So yeah, it is just disappointing. I'm not surprised by the owner's decision to do this. It's just another like, what next? Like, what cuts are going to be cost? It's the men's team ultimately going to be next. The academy, are they going to take them from? Because we're a category A at the minute, or the best standard of academy. Oh, you know what? We can't afford that. We're going to bring it down. Like the standards are just dropping as we speak, and it's just harming the value of the club massively. So
sad times.
Yeah.
Jody, what about your take on the women's, and maybe in regards to Waggett's final statement or final words as CEO in regards to the women's? Again, not putting words in his mouth, but that's what I'm led to believe, that this was the straw that broke his camel's back, sort of thing, and kind of forced his resignation or what have you.
Yeah, the reality is we probably don't know until if there's an autobiography that comes out for Steve Waggett and the truth comes out. But at this moment in time, it's just hearsay. My personal take on it, sad has been bandied around. I think it's a shame. But I had no emotional attachment to Blackburn Rovers ladies, and I don't want to sound, derogatory. I don't want to sound sexist, and there's a fine line in all of this, but I just genuinely didn't. I've got 36, 37 years worth of history with Blackburn Rovers men's team. That's all that was about available, when I was a supporter. I appreciate there's new supporters coming through, and, but, 200 fans at a home game is not commercially viable. And we talk about, that football's a business. and unfortunately the business has done the talking. Denver mentioned that Burnley have got the full-time Burnley women's team and things like that. That's great. Maybe we would have done, and we could have kept them going if we'd just been promoted to the Premier League and what have you, and we just had 3 or 4 or 5, however many parachute payments they've had. But when everything, including home attendances at the men's game, is not brilliant, then unfortunately, you've got to look after number one. There's a reason why they always say on a plane, put your own oxygen mask on first, and for that, for me, that's what it feels like. Very much so in this. I'm sure it's a tough decision that why the Venkies have made or whoever made that decision, but it's just not commercially viable, and I feel disappointed saying this, but there's no point in having a women's team, but having a men's team in League Two, because 150 years or 149, 150 years worth of history is there for it. So, like I say, me personally, I never went to one game. I probably would have done. It was probably just a matter of time, but for me, there's a bit of a same old story evolving. You look at the successful women's teams at the minute. It's your Man Cities, it's your Chelseas, it's your Arsenals. I think Man United. People like that. I don't know. I've not taken that much interest because I've no emotional attachment in it. So I appreciate it's going to attract a different kind of audience, sort of thing, and an interesting question for me is, could you support Blackburn Rovers men's team, but Man United's women's team, for example, would that have happened? Who knows? But it's a shame. It's 10 years we might live to regret the decision, sort of thing, but you've got to work at this moment in time, and this moment in time, it wasn't feasible, viable option for Blackburn Rovers. We're struggling for attendances, we're struggling to pay wages, we're struggling to keep hold of players. For me, it was the right decision, as much as it pains me to say that. I work for a global company, and we have some really, really successful and really brilliant ladies in all of that. So, I'm an advocate for all of this equalness and equality and what have you. But at this moment in time, for Blackburn Rovers Football Club, for me, it was the right thing to do.
So can I quickly say something on that? So
Go for it.
of course, I have a little bit of bias, maybe not towards the Blackburn Rovers side of things, but just women's football in general, because I advocately push it all the time. But so and that's the thing that I see with a lot of fans saying, that we're balancing the books, we're in that position, and I completely get that. So in my eyes, I'm thinking, if you're not able to fund a successful football club, and what I mean by that is support all areas of it, how can you say that you're and this is the argument that clubs will always have, is how can Venky say that they're able to sustain supporting a football club if they're having to cut back on multiple areas, having to self-relegate one of their teams 2 divisions below because they can't fund it. Could you say the same with the men's team? Imagine, vice versa. Choosing the thought you support the men's team, the women's team are really successful. All the money's comes to the women's team. We can't support it, or we'll relegate us into League Two because we can't afford it. You wouldn't be happy, would you? And it's one of them where, like, it's devaluing the club, and if the Venkies can't sustain that, why are they still hanging on to us? Why are they still
No, it's a good question. I think the only thing I would say in defence, 15 years ago when they bought Blackburn Rovers, there's no such thing as a women's team, or not in its capacity now, sort of thing. So, in the spirit of fairness, you've got to, all things considered, sort of thing. It's only in the last 5, 6, 7 years that women's football's really taken off, and it's like I say, I think it was only a matter of time before I started going to maybe a women's game. I know one of my colleagues, he goes religiously. He takes his son to all these different grounds. He was at Leicester City just the other night for England versus Switzerland. So, it's. I think I would have gone, but when you look at like the under-21s game that I went to not that long ago at Ewood, I think we had about 400 or 500 for the under-21s, which is okay. It's fine. But when your average attendance for the ladies' home game is 200, and let's be absolutely perfectly honest here, we ain't going to compete with your Chelseas, your Uniteds, your Cities, and things like that. You know what I mean? Yes, we've brought a few England players through, but I think that's all we're ever going to be. I just tough decision, horrible decision. Like you say, it's not a good look, but for me, you've got to sometimes put your own oxygen mask on.
Last bit, Dirk, before we move on. Last bit, Dirk. So, and I get all those points, but then at the same time, why are we saying that we can't compete with the likes of Man Cities, with the likes of Chelsea, with the likes of these massive clubs? It's because of the backing they have as owners, no? So that's my question now. Look, you might not be able to fund, as a championship club, you might not be able to, fund as much as but for me, if you're looking at it from just as you look how big this game could potentially be. If I was in charge, for example, I'm looking at it going, look, yeah, maybe the revenue isn't now, but in 15, 20 years time, if we put our eggs in this basket now, we push this team now, where there's an opportunity here for us to break into a position where Blackburn Rovers, we're in a position in the country where we can, the hand-me-downs of your Liverpools, your Man Cities, your stuff, you can pull these players in on the cheap, and you can really push this women's team into that stratosphere. You never know what's going to happen if you're in that conversation in a few years' time. Now we are 3-4 divisions away from that, and you're not going to attract those players now. And the women's team is a debunk that you're not going to get into that. In 15, 20 years' time, where teams who decided to put that little bit in now for the future. I know, look, as Venky's now, you can't look at it like that, and that's the bit for me. Like, as a club, if you can't progress the club, why are you still in charge? You look at your Wrexhams, your Birminghams now who've just come up, who are going, you know what, we want to. Where's that? That's not our ambition. We are, let's survive, and we're not going to track the men's. We're not going to track these numbers, and it's not just about money. It's about. It's that's the issue, and it grows bigger than just the women's game.
The examples you've given are all the teams and clubs that are doing, successful, your Wrexhams, your Birminghams, and what have you. But also equally, you've got to look at the clubs which are really struggling under pressure. Leicester City, Sheffield Wednesday, for example. There's plenty of other clubs as well, which you could argue maybe has not been managed right. But yeah, for me, this moment in time, somebody said that if somebody had done like a bit of a forecast, and I'm sure they've done all this, that women's team, to get them, full time and all of that is going to cost us, I don't know, pie in the sky figure, £2.5 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for where we are now. I don't disagree with you. If we had a Jack Walker, we'd be beating your Chelseas, your Uniteds in the women's teams, I'm sure, but we're not in that space, are we? So you've got to cut your cloth accordingly sometime. Listen, I don't disagree with you. It's a crying shame. I'd love to have representation of Blackburn Rovers women. I think, like I said to you, it was only a matter of time before I personally went down and supported the girls. But at this moment in time, given the club, given everything that we've gone through, that we are, and maybe Steve Waggett has walked because of that decision. It might have been something that he was really, really passionate about, and would that get him more kudos? Who knows? Dirk, you've been very quiet in all of this. What's your take on it?
Good. I wanted my little 2 cents. So I listed, you both have got good points, and I'm glad I got you two to talk it out, because Denver's definitely pro women football. I'm not saying Jonty's not pro women, but I'm a bit of Denver here. I'm a bit on the fence myself, because if we were the Burnley, the yo-yo club that they are at the moment, they are getting the money in.
yes, you can have a little play, not calling it a plaything, but the women's will be a plaything. You could subsidize that with your 20, 30, 40 million you get from your yo-yo thing. We haven't seen those days, those money days, in a long, long time. To take on that commitment, it costs a fair, pretty penny, and we aren't in that. We are not in that wheelhouse at the moment. So I would love to have it, and I was very excited for it, and even I was even looking to do some more digging into women's game in regards to making content, but we're not in there. It's unfortunate that we are, and it's unfortunate to watch those six-fingered freakazoids down the road, taking the talent, taking the women's talent away. But that's just where we are, and it's a shame that we're in that pickle. And I don't think. Well, I hope it's not a scenario where the academy is next, and that has to be scaled back, and at the detriment of the main money. When I don't even know. We don't even want to call us money makers, but the next branch of the Blackburn Rovers brand that gets scaled back. So I'm hoping that we do see the Premier League days very, very soon, and then maybe they could reignite that women's game and put more funding in there. But we need that promotion. And we also need people in the hierarchy to be reinterested in the club again. Because right now, Blackburn Rovers owners, they don't give two shits. They've got all the legal cases going on, and we got left with Sahali Ali, whatever his name is, who I don't even know. I don't know what he's just his own thing. But I just think we need and maybe change. Waggett appeared to be a pro guy for the women's game. Who knows what this new CEO is? But kind of just getting new faces involved in Blackburn Rovers in those higher up positions could help reignite Blackburn Rovers, because I think we might have gone a little bit stagnant in certain areas. And that perfectly segues me on to another major departure over the past month or so, and that's David Lowe. Now, one of the last men standing. I always wondered, when's he going to go? He always seems to be the right-hand man of Luke Mowbray, whoever else was after that. JDT stuck around, Gareth, Matey Boy, who just left. I can't remember his name now. John Eustace, of course, I can't forget him. But he's been here for a long, long time, and now it looks like maybe with Waggett going, he's the last of the old guard there. I think there's still a couple other little bits of Deadwood still floating around in the old coaching setup at Blackburn Rovers, but they could be next. But David Lowe gone. He did have a good little what's the thing when they say Indian summer there, with a couple of games in charge, a couple of wins under his belt. But he's gone now, appear to be. Who wants to take a little? Who wants to sound? Who have a little say about that? Let's go, John T. What do you think about David Lowe leaving? And again, good, bad, or is it again chance to get some breath of fresh air in the Blackburn Rovers coaching setup?
Yeah, I think it's another unknown, isn't it? Again, probably did a hell of a lot behind the scenes. I think he was liked, and I think testament to that is the way that the players played for him. West Brom away springs to mind. But yeah, maybe it's an opportunity to have a bit of a reset. David has been at the club for I don't know factually. I can't remember. I've read a lot of stuff recently, but is it about 7, 9, 8, 9 years? Is it, or is it longer than that? Yeah, yeah. He's been there for a while. You know. So yeah, maybe a bit of a reset. I don't mind a bit of a shake up every now and then. It's the was it Einstein said definition of madness: just keep doing the same things and expect a different result. So we're going to have a different face as first team coach. So again, it's going to be only time will tell, sort of thing. We've I guess we seem to have put all our eggs in one basket with Ishmael, sort of thing, to a certain extent. And there's been a big shake up recently at the club. You know, as we all know, in the commercial world, that can go one way. It can either be the best thing that's ever happened, or oh my god, too many changes in too quick succession. So. Me personally, yeah, I didn't know that much about the guy until obviously he took charge of a few games. But He seemed to know the players very well. He seemed to get a really good tune out of them, albeit I think Swansea away excluded from that. But and it would have been interesting if we had kept hold of him. Would he have then gone on and won the next home and away game sort of thing? But for me personally, yeah, I don't mind the change. I don't mind the change. You just hope that the next guy comes in is going to do a job.
Yeah, well, I think the initial talk was trying to reposition Mr. Lowe somewhere within the Blackburn Rovers setup, maybe something to do with youth. But apparently, again, this is actually quite recent change of or development in that. Like, I think the initial announcement of David Lowe being removed from the coaching team is maybe a week, 2 weeks old. But this new development of him being completely removed from Blackburn Rovers is fresh within the last 12 hours. So that's something to come into. And honestly, yeah, I agree with you. I'm all about change myself. I think him, Waggett, it could actually even be, if we want to read between the lines, could be the start of a major change. Maybe even a change of owners, maybe even change of other faces involved with Blackburn Rovers. And again, hopefully a step in the right direction. Denver, what are your thoughts on Mr. Lowe departing? Again, a familiar face, but could it be one of Waggett's last remaining guys on the inside of the coaching setup, perhaps, or maybe I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, you could see it like that, but I agree with pretty much what John T said in the sense of, look, he's been great with us. He's worked. We thank him for everything. But if you're Valérien Ismaël or you're the hierarchy, whoever comes in, the board of directors or whatever, they want their men in. They want if you're in that position, you're in that position of power, you're in that position of charge, and you go, this person's been around for God knows how long. You respect what he's done and everything, but you want your players. You want to have change, you will do it. And unfortunately, potentially that's cost David Lowe his position. And when that's with any industry, any line of work, not necessarily just in football, in life in general. Like you can have a look at when Newcastle went in and everyone changing, not just the manager, everything changed, and that's football and that's life. And Valérien Ismaël wants his players in, or his coaches in, and he wants and the board and hopefully when the new director comes in, director of football, and that's part and parcel of life. And unfortunately, David Lowe doesn't fit that, and he might not like the idea and all, coaches suit other coaches, some coaches don't. He's suited, of course, the likes of Tony Mowbray. He's helped with Eustace, JDT, and he might just think, do you know what? This isn't my kind of football. This isn't my environment that I like to be in. He wants to move on, and that's it. It might, again, it's one of those, it might be a good thing, like Steve Waggett. It might be a bad thing, Only time will tell and see if this was the right decision. He might go on and, he's had a taste of first team football. He might want that now. If he leaves us, he might go to a team struggling in a few months' time and take the job and do really well.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I think, is he going to pop up in a League One club and things like that? Me personally, I'd be very interested as to how his journey goes. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows? I don't think. Me personally, I don't think we'll see Waggett pop up anywhere else. I think he's probably done his course now. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see David Lowe pop up at somewhere. I don't know. That's kind of struggling, but somewhere like MK Dons.
Tranmere Rovers. He's got the accent and everything.
Yeah, Tranmere Rovers, MK Dons, somewhere like that. MK Dons had a horrendous season last season by their standards. I think a lot of people had them down for at least a minimum in the playoffs, and I think they finished 15th or 16th. So I won't be surprised, the League Two sort of thing. But somewhere like that, that he, and fair play to him. He probably deserves a bit of a streak in the limelight.
Yeah, and also I think it's good for Big Val to have his guys in there. Okay, hopefully, there was one guy that was linked before when I think it's time at Barnsley. Or maybe even Watford, or maybe both actually. But apparently he didn't take up Big Val's offer. Hopefully, I know they got, who's his current second in command, Whitehead or something like that. Is that right? His name, Whitehead.
I know who you, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Dean Whitehead or something like
Yeah.
that. So he's the number 2, and then this other guy was also, I think, he was current. Well, previously, I know he just left, the manager of a Northern Vanarama team. And he got them promoted, Tunbridge or Eastbourne or something. Anyway, so David Lowe, we're going to say goodbye to him, and it looks like we're going to say goodbye to these two, of course. So Derby County doing this, like buy one get one free. Well, they're not actually buying one; they just get 2 free. Really, it's Danny Barr, Andreas Weimann looks set to be reignited with John Eustace at Pride Park. A bitter pill it is for me to say goodbye to both of these. So you can look at it a couple of ways. Again, we can really assume that Rovers get replacements in for them. But John T, what's your take on the departures of these 2 veterans?
I think the bigger question is, if you had to choose between one of them to go and one of them to stay, who would it be? I think my answer to that question would be I prefer to see Danny Barr. I've probably kind of waxed lyrical about him throughout the course of last season, only because of the sort of leadership that he had on field. So yeah, but listen, I'm good to see both of them go. I think we probably could get another season out of Andy Weimann, Danny Barr. Even on the coaching team sort of thing, I think he has been immense for us sort of thing. Like I say, with his leadership skills, playing alongside Dominic Hyam. Dominic Hyam, when he's playing against one of the other younger lads, Hayden Carter or Scotty Wharton, Dominic Hyam has kind of been the leader, but then when you get Danny Barr in, it's kind of Danny Barr's been leading the pack. So I think I'll personally miss his leadership. I mean, forget where he goes to, even if he, it's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? But yeah, it's just typical Derby, and for our 150th game at home to be at home to Derby County, I was like, oh, for goodness sake, really? Why couldn't we have had somebody like Charlton at home or Swansea at home or somebody like that? But it is what it is. Both will be big misses. I like what Andy Weimann did. For me, probably didn't get as much game time as potentially, especially when Yuki was injured. I think he should have had a little bit more game time. Me personally, other than my my other mate that everybody's aware of, but I would have preferred to see a bit more of Andy Weimann. So there's an element that you can't blame him for going. If you look at how many times he's kept the bench warm, and when he should have come on in the 70th minute and he hasn't, he's been 85th, 86th minute sort of thing. It's pointless, isn't it? So he looked, certainly for his age, he still looked sharp. He looked fit, he looked fresh, and what have you. So yeah, I think. There's an element of we've only got ourselves to blame, but like I say, going to Derby is just a harder kick in the nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, Danver, what's your take on the departing duo? Are they? Are we going to be in a better position than they are, or will we find adequate replacements to fill the shoes of these guys?
Again, that's boring. I think I've said this like 5 times today already. Time will tell. It's going to be one of those where, look, when the news came out that they're potentially training with Derby and the interest is there, and look, they haven't signed the contract, so they've got to keep their doors open. But it is a shame. I really did like. I mean, Danny Bart's been phenomenal when he's come in and he played majority of the season, and same with Andy Weimann, came up with some really crucial goals. I think in the memory of Blackburn Rovers fans, that goal against Burnley will live long. But got to look at the bigger picture. Both on the wrong side of 30. How much we would have both given them one more year. Derby County is a team that just survived, a manager that they clearly both players like and love to coach under. Val isn't probably that. And you look at it from all those aspects, and you think it makes sense from their perspective, in the sense of if probably going to be easy to break in the side that have just survived. We're looking to push on a little bit. I don't know how much that is going to play effect to what's happened, but of course, a manager that they love in Eustace and potentially a lot more game time. I mean, Danny Bart got plenty, but how much was he probably looking at getting when he originally signed? I don't know. With the likes of Hayden Carter, Scott Wharton ahead of, but then on John T's point with Andy Weimann, we've got to remember that majority of the season, John Eustace was manager and he was making the decisions. I don't know how much of how much game time he's going to really get at Derby as well, but with the personnel there, he's going to have a look at it. He probably thinks he's going to have a better chance of getting in the squad. But yeah, it all matters now. What recruitment we're going to get in. Also, what kind of players does Valérien Ismaël want? Maybe a very different profile. I know we offered them both contracts. We clearly wanted them both to be a part of the squad, but that would probably have been it. I think, especially with Weimann, with his age, and look, he was carrying a knock from a lot of the games that he was playing, and then eventually decided to get his surgery ready for pre-season for Derby. Unfortunately, not for us, but well, we'll see what happens there. But I think, again, wrong side of 30. What would you rather have the investment in? Would you rather have two players who, as much as Danny Bart had a really good, would you rather invest in youth and have that sell-on value, or that potential of being really good players, or players who are older? Look, I wish both of them would sign both contracts, because I think they're both really crucial players. Weimann with his goals and Danny Bart with his knowledge helped Hyman all that time, alongside Hyman, sorry, and they're going to be a bit missed. But if we get the right personnel in, which Rovers, we can do by time to time, and get Valérien Ismaël's players in, and we do really well, we'll forget about Andy Weimann and Danny Bart, like we have done with a lot of players who've gone in the past. So yeah.
That's good point of view. I also think, it's we're going to miss the experience, and hopefully we will find some experience somewhere within the transfer market. But I think you're right with the amount of money these guys were on. We could probably get younger assets that could have a good year or two with us, and then be sold to make a bit of money, and hopefully put us some more money in the bank. But it's not. It doesn't end there, unfortunately, guys. It doesn't end there. It does look like this guy again. It's the world's football's worst secret, and it's Tyrese Dolan. Looks set to also depart Blackburn Rovers. I think we are within the TikTok stage. This is the last day. I think he's paid by Blackburn Rovers. Tomorrow he'll be unpaid by Blackburn Rovers, and we'll probably hear an announcement within the day or within the week, I'd say, of where his next club is. There are some rumours around, including a lot of Derby fans think he's going there, and I'd be stunned if that's the case. But he's leaving for sure. I'd say 99.999%. I don't think there's much hope in dragging it out. But John T, what's your take on him leaving? And he's a bit of a Marmite. So, well, he's like a bit of Marmite. Sometimes he's amazing or decent. Sometimes he can be frustrating, but
Yeah, I think when you talk about a Marmite player, you either like them or you don't. I think with Tyrese Dolan, he's either brilliant on his day or he's just a passenger on his day, sort of thing. So he can be Marmite within a game, let alone as an individual. Yeah, there's been clubs linked with him. I've seen Derby being bandied around. I've even seen him Sunderland being bandied around as well. Who knows where he's going to go to? I think the only thing we can safely say is he won't be a Blackburn Rovers player next season, which I think is sad to a certain extent. How many times do we see players leave Blackburn Rovers and the grass is greener on the other side, and yet they go and do bugger all? Yeah, you can probably name 5 players that have gone on and done pretty well, to be fair. Tom Kearney, great player, and went on to do other stuff. But I can probably name more players, and I probably need 2 Burnley hands to list all the players that that haven't gone on and reached the dizzy heights of what they thought they were going to do. But and I say, with a bit of confidence that we're probably going to see him, not see him next season, is because, on TikTok and all that good stuff, it was pointed out that Todd Cantwell was wearing the number 10 shirt in his training and things like that. So, am I sad to see Tyrese Dolan go? It depends which Tyrese Dolan we're talking about. It just pisses me off. Just like any player when they need to ramp up the game, they can do. There's just no loyalty in football. We dragged him off the streets of Preston, didn't we? We gave him a fantastic opportunity. We've nurtured him. We've developed him. We've put our arm around him when he needed us the most. And then, they don't think twice about they get a sniff for another club sort of thing. You can't blame it on game time. He's had more than ample game time and what have you. But anyway, who gives a shit about what I'm saying? What about Jacob? We didn't care about Jacob anyway. So Denver,
It's lagging a little bit. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay,
I'm
we're talking about Tyrese Dolan. What's your take? Oh, hang on a minute. Let me move this around here. Let me I have to edit this bit out. Let me move stuff around. Where are you? I'm going to move you. How about that? Where are you? No connection. No connection. Okay, what about Denver?
If you want me to, right?
Yes, sorry, yeah. What's your take on Tyrese Dolan's imminent departure, which of course should be confirmed within the next couple of days, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it is disappointing. I think in my head more so that we didn't get anything for it. I think it's the same with like Blackburn Diaz. We didn't get anything for it in the essence of we didn't get any value for him coming back into the club. I know we got him on a free essentially, and it's just one of those where look, yeah, we give him loads of game time, but how many times during the season do we come on here and say like, he's just not good enough. He's just not good enough. We were saying if he does go in the summer, we'll be disappointed. No, now that time's come around, and we're saying yes, we are disappointed that he's going. Maybe just because of the performances at the end of the season. Yeah, but and his potential and what could be. But if you're in his position, if I'm in his position, if I'm looking at it going, I'm not a Blackburn fan. I'm a lad who's come and play football at the team that gave me the opportunity. I'm sure he'll be forever grateful, but he'll want to, 6 months ago, we were thinking, yeah, we don't fancy this guy. He's a bench warmer. He'll come on and play 2-3 games, and then he'll be sitting on the bench. And that might all be what he is. He might go to another club and it never will not work out. But it is a shame because we know what he can do. But let's say, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Let's say, for example, magically we're in the Premier League in 2 years' time. And, we're doing really well, and a Tyrese Dolan just doesn't fit in our squad, and we won't be so disappointed now that he's left, But then at the hindsight, wonderful thing, we could look in 2 years' time, we're in League One, and we say, look, we could have kept the likes of Tyrese Dolan. But look, we're looking at Tyrese Dolan here. He's a great player. Is he Premier League quality? Look, hopefully he proves me wrong, but I can't see it personally. But he could go to another club and do really well. And that's fine, He maybe thinks his time's ran. I don't know how many years has he been with us now. It was during the COVID season he joined, wasn't it? So it would have been 2020, beginning of 2020 when he signed for us. So 5 years, which is a long time in football. And look, I'd love him to have stayed. Would he have been that player that will, a Bradley Dack kind of player, Sammy Schmonix? Maybe not. He hadn't proved it for 5 years with him being in it. So, if he goes on and does whatever, which he's most likely going to do, good luck to him. But it's football, unfortunately. That's football today. Like Jonty said, there's no loyalty in football. And ultimately, that goes both ways. I'm a part of it now. And it's like, in the sense of, look, if he does really poor, we're not going to play him. We want him to leave on a free. See in a bit, that's part of it. But vice versa, if he does really well and then he goes, it's one of them. You got to look after yourself in football, like Jonty said before. Put the oxygen on your own face when you're on the plane, and that's what Dolan's really done ultimately. And good luck to him. But ultimately, hopefully, fingers crossed, if we bring better personnel, Cog Gakpo, and can have a good season. Hopefully, that's the plan.
Yeah, well, again, every cloud has a silver lining, and our silver lining is, of course, this guy. That's right, Adam Forshaw is back. You thought we got rid of him. You thought you got rid of him, but no, he's here, and he's still here, and he's still bloody here. Thoughts on Forshaw coming back, John T? Of course, it does leave some, or at least a little bit of maybe some lingering questions. Perhaps is he here to play regular football? Are we going to lose anybody in that defensive midfield slot, or is he here just for squad depth?
I think when I heard the news, I thought as long as we get other players, if we sign 6 or 7 players, then yeah, it's all right. I'm all right with him. But if this is the sort of grounding of things to come, then I've got grave concerns. I think we've made a couple of exciting signings, which I'm sure we're going to come on to. Don't know that much about them, to be fair, but equally, Adam Forshaw he's not going to get anybody excited. I can't see us selling anybody with whatever his squad number is and Forshaw across the back sort of thing. He's not that kind of player, but he's. I feel a little bit sorry for the guy because when he came in, he didn't come in with the best reputation. He's not going to be a game changer, but he'll do some of the ugly stuff brilliantly, and he'll get stuck in. And from what I saw of him, he did give 110%, and what more can you ask for, sort of thing. So yeah, but like I say, it all depends who we get in and around him now, or more importantly, if somebody like Travis or Tronstad leaves, he's kind of got to step up, hasn't he? And he might be one of those players, like I've said about Buckley, just needs more game time, and the more he plays, the better he'll get, sort of thing. Who knows? But obviously, age isn't on his side, sort of thing. So he'll have to hit the ground running. But long answer to your short question, did it excite me? Categorically not. No.
Well, of course, he isn't the only guy that we have brought in. Yes, we have made some early door moves. Some, actually, both of them costing a bit of some money. And here is one of them. Dion de Nevre is his name. He's from Belgium. Wide man, they call him, down the left-hand side. I think his track record is as a left wing back, but looking like he's going to be playing further up the field if what the conversation is happening on social media and around the parts there. Denver, anything on this guy, or is that news to you?
No, well, of course, when we signed him, didn't know loads about him, but what I've seen and the numbers that, of course, I've been branded about. Look, I can't say, oh, this guy's going to be the best thing that's happened to Blackburn Rovers, or I don't know anything about him. I've not seen him play. I've not seen him kick a ball other than when we signed him. He did a few kicky uppies, but it looks positive. The likes of like Yuki, he could be another one of them, but we have to wait and see what he's going to bring to the plate. The Belgium league doesn't exactly scream to me that he was in the Belgium league, but his team just got relegated to the second division. And looking at his numbers, it doesn't scream to me. This guy's going to be a superstar and he's going to jump right in and really impress. But at the same time, we're not signing those players because other teams above us will be signing those players with a bit more money. So he looks interesting. I'm excited to see what we've got. He's a player out wide. My only thinking is, of course, Cargo plays out there, but maybe a bit more of a defensive left mid, and Carbo maybe play more towards the forward three potentially, if that's the shape that we're going to play. But it's so early days. We signed him a few weeks back, and I'm hoping that we've got a really, really talented, good player coming into the squad here, and will challenge those positions, but even replace and be better than like a Dolan. But only time will tell. We could have another Sigurdsson on our hands and not work out.
Speaking of Sigurdsson, Jacob's here. Here he is. He's his biggest fan. Jacob, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you giving up a bit of your busy day. Busy day. I know you're a busy man, and you got to get whining and dining and all that kind of stuff. So appreciate that. Appreciate. Sorry about any technical snafu's, but we're talking about some new arrivals. Dion Denevre coming in from Belgium. Bit of a bargain, perhaps. Unknown entity. Does it get you? Does that get you excited about going back to Ewood?
I mean, we got Maktar from the Belgian league, didn't we? And there's a few differing opinions here as to how that signing's gone, I suppose. But yeah, I'm glad we've gone and picked this guy up. I mean, obviously, we've got Pickering and Ribeiro already, so it makes you question, I suppose, why we've gone and got another left back. But obviously, Owen Beck's departure, we all did see, to be fair, once Pickering got injured, it did kind of leave Beck in a position last season where he knackered himself out in the end, didn't he? Playing as many games as he did because we didn't have any other options. So not a bad thing, but it wouldn't have been my first priority anyway in terms of the squad. In terms of the player itself, he's an unknown entity, isn't he? We'll have to see how he gets on, but there's plenty of challenge there, which is good to see.
He wasn't the only new addition. We also spiced up our midfield again. This guy, Sidney Traversi, still again another bit of an unknown entity here. But early.
Is Travis the Travis replacement? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, that's where I'm leaning towards. But this guy is allegedly more of a box-to-box midfielder, so it would provide a bit more creativity, a bit more going forward than the Tronstad Travis mold of old. Does that mean? Does it mean that the Big Val style of play will see the departure of one of the current TNT in replacement of a new style TNT with Travis, or whatever his name is, Traversi and Tronstad, Traversi Travis. It's getting a bit of a tongue twister here. Denver, you can jump in on this one.
I think it's early to say. I think in the head of Rovers, if you're looking at it, you know that there's going to be some interest in Trav. I mean, all the drama and all the dilemma and how much of it, he's a captain now, and how well, especially with the likes of Derby and your lower clubs in the sense of, your Rex and your Birmingham with a bit of money who want to spend the money on these players. In the back of your head, you're probably thinking, if the right offer comes in, you're probably going to accept. How old is he now? 26, 27? He's around there now, so he's coming into his prime. How much of a sell-on value? These are the things that are going to be going through our, their heads. They're going to be thinking, how much money can we get out of this player? Look, if we decide to keep him, how many more years is he going to get? Is he going to be that next player? Is that going to be that Adam Wharton? Is he? You're probably not. So this is probably the best amount of money you're going to get out of a player like this. And then you could bring someone in Travers who could potentially be that next player. So financially, you're looking at it going, yeah, if the right offer comes in now, while he's, you'll take it. From the footballing side of things, you're a bit gutted, especially with a player who's come through the academy. And when we say through the academy, he did sign from Liverpool when he was, 15, 16. So pinch of salt, he came through the academy. But he's been here for 10 plus years, and it'll be sad to see him go. But money talks in football, like I said, with the women's team, with whatever, the academy, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. And if a good fee comes in for Trav, as much as I don't want to see him go, I understand, and hopefully the replacements do replace a Trav and better it. But wait and see. You never know. You could see him next to Trav, and no one comes in for Trav because no one wants him, and this just all seems silly. But yeah.
Yeah, well, one thing about the Mr. Sydney, Big Sid here, he is rocking the new 150th anniversary outfit or jersey, and of course, it is our 150th year. We are celebrating that in many ways here. But the new kit is out. Of course, it's still available out there. I think I might. It's out.
Still available.
Well, is it though? Is it not sold out yet? Hopefully, it's sold out.
I doubt.
You doubt it. Well, yeah. Well, hopefully we will we'll see it. Its brother in the away kit very very soon. But John T is actually
Yeah.
rocking the kit here. So
Let's
we're
see
gonna.
him. Come on.
I'm trying. I'm trying. Let me drop me out of there.
Ye- Yeah, what do I think of it? I think now that the dust has settled, I'm all right with it. There's a lot of nice features that I do like about it. I love the collar. I can't remember that we've ever had a half blue, half white. I'm sure I'm going to get corrected in all the comments and all that stuff, but go easy on me, guys. It's a lovely shade of blue. It's a shiny kit. And I've made peace with it now. Was there an original disappointment there when I was thinking, yeah, it's 150th year, it's going to be something special? Um, yeah, it's going to bring obvious disappointment. I think from a commercial point of view, Rovers have probably done the right thing because I think we were expecting what Port Vale have done. It's their 150th year as well. They've gone very traditional, and they're wearing that all season. Where Rovers, we've taken a slightly different approach, a different sort of business model where this is our home kit, and for maybe certainly the Derby game, if not a couple of games around it, we'll be wearing a special 150th shirt. So nailed on, Rovers are going to get out of me probably 180 quid just in shirt sales because I will obviously 60 quid for the home shirt. I'm hoping it'll be 60 quid for the away shirt, and then the special 150th will hopefully again be 150 quid. So this is from a guy. Sorry, 180 quid. But this is from a guy that normally buys at least nailed on home shirt, occasionally the away shirt, if not the third kit. So, commercially from Rovers, it's probably the right thing to do. But um, so yeah, I'm all right with the kit now. I just found it a little bit ironic that in all of our other sort of 4 or 5 years with Macron, we've been a lot more detailed in the sort of like the I can't think of the word, the sort of inside of the shirt, sort of, we've had the Blackburn Rovers emblem sort of thing. We've had different shades of blue, 2 or 3 seasons ago. It started off as a dark blue, fading up to a lighter blue sort of thing. And there was a lot more detail in that element of it where this one is, I wouldn't say it's boring. I get what they're trying to do. They've just got a long stem and there's little spouts coming off to which will eventually become a rose, but it never actually does. So that's a little bit weird for me. But I'm it's very comfortable. I mean, we're sat here today in 28, 29 degrees, and I'm quite comfortable in it. So yes. What was your question? Do I like it? Yeah, it's all right.
You've
Well,
been
it look,
working out as well, John, by the looks of it. You look really good in it. You know what I
there you
mean?
go. It's
It
ready
looks
Oh,
for the gym. Look. Yeah.
we need to get a room, Dev.
we have already before, you know what?
Yeah. What happens in London stays in London.
That's caring about that.
So, has anyone else picked up the kit yet? Denver, Jacob, you managed to snatch it yet, or you're waiting?
No, I think my dad's actually bought one, but it's one of those things. I've not had the time to go up and get it, but it's one of those again where we're all expecting and again when Jonty says that, how nailed on is it that that's going to be the case where we do have it? Imagine we say this and it doesn't happen and we end up wearing this kit for the 150th anniversary. That would be very disappointing if that was the case. But
Yeah.
it's when it was unveiled, and or I think what was the disappointing part with it, it was I won't say false advertisement, but it was they started showing the retro badge, the dark blue, and these were the subtle hints that they were giving, and then this was the kit that they unveiled, and that was the thing I was a bit like, hey, you've kind of dangled the carrot and then showed us turn it, And I'm not saying the kit isn't a bad kit, and I really do like the kit, but from what was again lured, it was dangled across our heads. They didn't reveal, and look again. I do like the kit. I will buy it because I'm a Blackburn Rovers fan, and anything that seems to come out of that club shop, I seem to buy because I'm silly. And it looks good on John T, so I can't complain. But no, I will get it. I'm really hoping that they do release that special kit, because again, I can just imagine they don't do that and uproar and. And if you are a Blackburn Rovers executive or Macron, and you've seen the reaction that's happened and people saying, "Oh, there'll be a new kit," if no one in the back room's going, "Yeah, we should do that now," is losing out a bit of money. So, but
I
yeah,
think, sorry, just to butt in as well. One thing I should have said before is, if we do release a special 150th kit, then for me that needs to be worn not just once. It needs to be for the whole of November, including away games. Hopefully not going to do something stupid like a home and away kit or something like that, because that's just disrespectful to the fans. So I think if you could have a home shirt and wear it as many times as you can in the stretch of November, our anniversary month, then I'm all right with that. But if it's just to be worn once, I mean, yes, I'm still going to buy it, but hopefully, it's not just a money cow sort of situation.
And hopefully we win when we wear it.
Yeah,
especially against Derby.
Don't even go there.
And I agree with a lot of what was said here, but what I don't get is that they did this big old season ticket event. And then you expect, just like Denver said, it's going to be the fancy old badge and all this, and then it's this kit. That was a very underwhelming sort of thing, but it does look nice. If we take the 150th thing out of the equation, you look at that kit, it is sharp. It does look pretty cool.
Agreed.
But I am also, again, I haven't bought mine yet because I get stung on shipping every once. I'm waiting for them all to come out and then maybe save myself $40 in shipping. So, Jacob, what's your take on it?
I'm going to say, I think we've had nicer ones from Macron since we've been going with Macron. Is this the 5th year now? Personally, I think the collar is nice. I'm glad it's not like a proper collar. I'm not a fan of those at all, but the blue and white halves is nice, and I like the bits on the end of the sleeves. But with kind of the design on it just being the fawns, I mean, obviously last year on the pink one we had Blackburn, like the actual kind of map view. I know on the home kit a couple of years ago or so you had the actual rose on there, our logo and stuff. They've done better things than this, in my opinion, and obviously it's put some maybes as to whether we do get this special kit. Like Denver said, it'd be a drop bollock at this point if we didn't get something, because obviously the reaction there has been towards this. But even if we do get that, I still think there should have been something a bit more special than just your bog standard average Rovers kit. There'll be the people who start saying about we're a working class club, we shouldn't be selling 4 different shirts in a season, which I agree to some extent, but at the same time, Rovers aren't forcing you to buy these kits either. So, it's neither here nor there, I suppose. But yeah, it's underwhelming. I can't say anything else other than that. It's underwhelming in my opinion.
If they just changed the badge for a season, put rose in there instead or something, that would have probably had a better fanfare than what was received. But anyway, it's there. We still got the joys of what's to come: the away kit, the third kit, and hopefully the 150th.
And it could have been a lot worse,
It could have been. It could have been claret.
It could have, or it could have been, Bayern Munich's home kit.
It's hideous.
So we've got a box standard blue and white half shirt.
That's the minimum. That's the minimum. What we expect. If it comes anything but blue and white,
I won't be buying this one. I won't be buying this one. That's for sure.
Wow.
Really? Wow.
No, I won't be buying this one.
It is a nice shirt, but you see on this Toctic and all that good stuff. You see them where some different concepts where they've sort of, and I would love to see this where almost the white and the blue just fade into each other as well. And you're just thinking, why has nobody ever done that? I think that would be such a popular selling shirt sort of thing where it just, the blue and the white bleed into each other. It's just like, God damn it, that's screaming out. As long as I've been supporting Rovers. We've had this absolute perfect half. Do you know what I mean? Just do something a little bit different. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an item of clothing, so you're always going to get people that love it. You're going to get people that hate it. Some people will be Denver's, sat on the fence with it.
Yeah.
But that's a piece of clothing. We're all wearing something different on this call today. But just do something different with the half blue, half white. I did actually think when I looked at the shirt in detail, why didn't they just like do a load of 150s like they did with the rolls, like they did with the. But then again, if I got that 150 all over here, I'd think, well, that's my 150th anniversary shirt. I don't need to buy the special one. So, let's see. But commercially, yeah, hopefully it'll bring a bit more club into the money, a bit more money into the club. Jeez, I'm
And
tired.
maybe a new CEO, he might be coming up with some of these things in the near future.
I've been screaming for the bleed in the tooth, like honestly for the past 7-8 years. I'm like, can we do? And even when like Daffabet kit came out, and it was a nice kit with the Daffabet logo and the color, and it was lovely, but just something a bit different. When you see Palace, like Crystal Palace's kits have been
Yeah.
like and their Macron as well. That's the thing that makes me go, look, they had the half and half, and they've got the patterns and the different bleeds, and it's phenomenal kits. A lot again, it'd be Marmite, and how much can you push? You've never been done for Blackburn Rovers before, and you're like, how much can you really push it? Like, how much will fans tolerate? What happens if instead of half and half, it goes diagonally, and you've got one half blue, one half white? How controversial will that be? But I'm looking. I'm happy to have a bit of difference. So.
Yeah, I don't know about the diagonal, but yeah, certainly the bleed. I think
Yeah.
it's you need to be a bit ballsy, and you know what? Now's the time to do it when you've got probably 10,000 nailed on fans going to buy the home shirt. That's probably what the sales are. I don't know exactly, but it might be more. It might be more, but you're not going to sell 30,000-40,000 of them. So be a bit ballsy on your 10, 11, 12,000. It's something a little bit different, and I think it would go down pretty well, especially when you see some of the concepts. They're immense.
There's some creative wizards out there, and we will get to see this kit in action, I think, or maybe it'll be the away kit. Yeah, in this, our opening round of matches. Here they are in all its glory. And what do we think? What do we think? If hopefully you've had a chance to see it. If not, you can have a look at it right now. These are the fixture lists. We kick it all off with West Brom away. Then we take on one of their better rivals, Birmingham, back at Ewood on the 16th of August. I'm skipping that Bradford game, but it's an important game, but still. Then it's Hull City, then it's Norwich, and that completes the month of August. So we have got, I don't know, how would we rate that out of 10? 10 being difficult, 1 being not so difficult. Jacob, so anyway, you need to get some airtime. Come on, what do you think on this?
I think I'd probably give it a 6. I don't think it's going to be walk in the park by any means, but I think Birmingham, newly promoted side at home, they've obviously they walked that league, to be fair, as you would have expected them to. But I'd fancy us to take the points against them at home. Norwich, there won't be a pushover, you'd think, but again at home, I think I'd still back us to get the points for them lot. Hull obviously had a poor end to last season. I'm not sure what they've done in the transfer market or whatnot, but if they're anything like they were last season, again, we should be getting at least a point at the minimum. West Brom on first day will definitely be a test, but I've just got to hope that we obviously start the season strong as we have done for quite a while now. We've done well on that opening fixture for the past few years after having that horrendous run for years of never winning on the opening day. So we'll have to see.
Let's hope it continues. 3 of the 4 teams that we play will all have new managers. What's that bearing, do you think, Denver, for the opening day or opening month?
It's one of those things where it's hard to call. Opening day, everyone's on a level playing field in terms of the unknown. But I think it's. I mean, Birmingham. Everyone's really terrified of it. It's going to be hard. It depends what the players they bring in. I see them very similar to. I know they've broken the points record in League One, but you've got the likes of when Wigan came up, they were champions and they never really broke in. I think everyone sees the Ipswiches of this past few seasons, and they've gone straight up, or your Sheffield United to have really gone in and made an impact. But I mean, I think they'll be very good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're going to be any pushovers, and I've got a few friends who are Birmingham fans as well. But I think they're going to be. It depends who we bring in, who they bring in. There's a lot of the transfer window to go until that game. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting with the different managers and the manager merry-go-round. Some teams will get off flyers. Some teams are going to be a shock. But looking at the opening fixtures, what do I think?
Mark said, like, if you were say 10 being hard, 1 being easy, how would you rate our opening 4 games? Would you think it's like
I mean, I'd say a 7. Or are we include all the way to Stoke? Yeah, we're going to October.
No, just the first 4, the first month.
I'd say 6, 7. I mean, West Brom are no pushovers. Birmingham are coming up and wanted to make an impact, and no one wanted them really first, and we've got them second. Yes, we're at home, but it's not going to be a fun game, especially where everyone is expecting us to be. That's important to consider, of course, because if you're a Birmingham player looking outside in, we're struggling, we're going to be down there, where we're going to be, we're not got John Eustace, all these players want to leave, all the turmoil, blah, blah, blah. It will play an effect on the game. Norwich, they're hopeful that they're going to have a better season than last season. Got a new manager, signing some good players. Ipswich just come down from the Premier League. It's not going to be a fun opening. Depending on, we might win all the games and we'll be, one of them. But I definitely think this is a lot easier than our last few games.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll have a look at those miserable back. And that's the thing, when the going gets tough at the end of the season and we need those points to either stay up or go up, it's going to be a slog. Jonty, what's your take on those first 4? Do you, looking at
yeah, it's the unknown, isn't it? It's West Brom this time. Well, last season they were beatable, and we did beat them quite convincingly. To be fair, Birmingham coming up from League One, you'd think, yeah, we'll put them back in the box. Hull City shite last season, so we'll beat them, and Norwich City again pretty shite. So based on last season, then yeah, you'd be quietly confident. But I think the reality is West Brom, new manager, we're away from home. I don't think Blackburn Rovers do very well on the away game, first away game of the season. The first game of the season when it's away from home. Anyway, I might be stand corrected. I only remember, I don't know. I might be speaking complete bollocks, but I think we beat Everton away about 12, 13 years ago, if not a little bit longer, and that was a bit of a surprise to everybody. Actually, no, we went to Swansea not that long ago. First game under young Dale Thomas, and we won there 3-0, didn't we? So
that was our second game, though. I think it wasn't the opening.
Oh, was it our second? Anyway,
yeah, I was meant to go to that game, and I was coaching against Cardiff, and then the Cardiff coaches were like, "Oh, because you've come all this way, we'll play another hour." And I remember going, "I've got a ticket to go watch Blackburn play. Don't do this now." And I missed the game. We won 3-0.
You didn't miss anything. That was honestly, I walked off that game, and everybody, all the Rovers fans were like in disbelief, saying, "Did we really just win that?" I know it looks a convincing scoreline, but it was kind of like I was walking past Swansea fans going, "Sorry." You know what I mean? I was so tentative. Say again.
It was a Hedges masterclass that game.
Yeah.
One of one.
Yeah.
JDT masterclass.
It was a JDT. It was a JDT game, and I just thought, oh my god, how have we won that game? I will never know. We had sort of 2 breaks, and the other one wasn't even a break. But anyway, other than that, we got dominated. But West Brom, new manager, Birmingham, high hopes for them this season. Hull City. Changed the manager. I think that's not through their choice. And then Norwich City, they've got your man from Bristol City anyway. So no, I think it's a tough start. I think it's a 7 out of 10. But again, we need to manage Blackburn Rovers' expectations in terms of the fans, because what's an acceptable point tally from that? Let's say nothing from West Brom, 1 point from Birmingham, 1 point from Hull, and 1 point from Norwich. So if we got 3 points in that, there'll be all hell that break loose in the stand, and it'll be, Venky's
Go
out
out.
and Ishmael and all of that. So but let's be clear now. They're 4 pretty tough games for me. They're a 7 out of 10 for me. I think if we had Charlton.
Do you think not winning one of those first 4 games would be acceptable, Jonty? Because I think we should be winning at least one of those 4.
No, I agree. 100%. I think we should be winning 2. If I'm being honest, I think we should be winning 2 of those. But what I'm saying is, if we only got 3 points out of the first four games, no matter if it's 1 win and 3 losses or 3 draws, whatever, that'll start open up a really really torrid time, or all that unrest in the stands. So it's important we get off to a really good start. But I'm just calling out. I think those 4 games are pretty tough games, given. Because what Rovers fans are like. They'll look at a bit like what I said. West Brom were beatable away from home because we did it last season, so the logic is there. Birmingham just come up, so yeah, we should be beating those. Hull City was shite last season, so were Norwich. So Rovers fans will be thinking, yeah, we should be getting 10 points out of that. So I'd love it if that happened, but Charlton away, Swansea at home, Stoke at home. Yeah, I'd expect 9 points out of those, to be honest with you, even in the current climate sort of thing. So, but I think the first 4 games are tough games. I think Watford, the great unknown, Ipswich, I think are going to be tough. If you look at the squad that they've got, even your likes of Sammy Schmonics and your little man in midfield as well. It's a tough guy. What's his name? What's that little? He kept Travis out when he came back from injury. What's his name?
Oh, I don't know. I think he might be.
Morsey?
Yeah, Morsey. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
him.
shithouse merchant.
Yeah, he's good
Yeah.
player though. To be fair, you've got the likes of, you've got the quality and the caliber of that kind of player. So I think, well, you'll all will be revealed shortly, but I think Ipswich will. I wouldn't say walk the league. Here's my biggest statement of tonight. I think the champions will be one of the lowest championship point tally this season. You watch, some dickheads will get 120 points and I'll end up eating my words for them. Well, no, but no, I honestly think this is a really, really, really tough league this season. We say it season in, season out, but the 3 that come up normally are going to struggle. We just need to be better than 3 other teams in that league. Honestly, you look at some of the teams and all the managerial changes, all the merry goes round. I'm thinking, shit, this league's just got even more serious than what it normally is.
Yeah, good point. So that was the start of the thing. This is the end of the season, and it is pretty grim when you look at it. We got the final game: Leicester at home. We got Southampton away, Sheffield United away, Coventry at home, and we got a cold night at Stoke, or probably cold day at Stoke anyway. So pretty grim at the end of the game.
Crap run.
Yeah.
That's a really crap running as well, considering Coventry are a bogey team, and then after that you've got 3 sides who will all be going for automatics or playoffs, you would think.
Well, you say that, right? Here's the thing. I'm not convinced. The last 4 games, Coventry home, Sheffield United away, Southampton away, and Leicester City at home. This is going to be a big statement, but I think I prefer those 4 to start than I would to end. Coventry, I think, will be a threat under Lampard. Okay, so won't take any points out of that. Sheffield United, your man's gone now, so they could be a completely different proposition than what they have been in the past. Southampton, for me, if they haven't come good again, change of manager. If they've not come good by Christmas, I think they could struggle. And Leicester City, it's a bit of the unknown anyway, isn't it? Because they've just got rid of Rude Van Nistelrooy. I think Sean Dyche is being bandied around there, so God only knows what that could be. But Leicester City could have nothing to play for the last game of the season. But for me, I think I would take the last 4 games, prefer them at the start, to be fair. I think we've got more of a threat at the start.
Yeah. I could see that, and I think the Leicester, there's talk of a points deduction as well. So
12 points, yeah.
So, but that leads us also nicely on to the reveal of where we think is going to go at the end of the season. So I did. So I've done 2 videos already about my championship predictions. I did the first one, which was straight after the final whistle of the League One playoff final. I did did that, and my opinion has changed since that. And I just dropped a video this past weekend of my revitalized or changed one. So this is what I think. And we're going to start with, I think, down here, the reveal, the relegation, who I think is going to go down. So starting with one of the teams that's going to go down is Watford. I think they will go down. I don't think, I think Tom Cleverley was a steady Eddie there. Did a great job with limited resources. I think they're kind of feeling the pinch now with cash, and they bring in a wild card from out of nowhere, who I just think it will go a little bit wrong, and I think they will go down. And they'll be joined by Hull City. That's right. Again, another wild card. They struggled last season. It does look like the owner's still willing to spend some money. It looks like Louis Barry. Is it Louis Barry? Is that right, Louis Barry?
It is now.
It is now. It is now. He was there last season, got injured, and they look like they're going to go back in for him and on a permanent deal from Aston Villa. Of course, he was good in with Stockport County and
League One, was it?
Yeah, League One. So, but again, he does chuck the money around, but I just think it's going to be rinse and repeat for them. And joining them, I don't think anyone's surprised, is Sheffield Wednesday. They're in the right old mess with their owners, and looks like they're going to be losing everybody. So into the playoffs we go for me, and I've got Leicester City squeaking in there, and this is in sixth place with the points deduction. I don't think they're going to come into the top two. I think and again, change of manager. Rumours, Steve, what's his name? Sean Dyche or Danny Roll, I think, has also been linked as well. Joining them will be Middlesbrough, I think, under Ryan Edwards. They got a bit of cash coming in, probably with some players going out, and they'll invest again, and Ryan Edwards will get in the playoffs. I have Norwich City up there with Liam Manning, Josh Sargent scoring all the goals. If they can keep him, they'll do all right. And Coventry City. I don't have any Rovers, unfortunately. I did have them in there, but right now I'm on the downer, Ducky downer. I do believe in the big Val, but I just think with possibly Travis uncertainty, Callum Britton uncertainty right now, I just think we could be selling a lot of key faces, and then we're going to be bringing in more Denevras and Travises or whatever his name is, and it might not work. So,
I was expecting Blackburn in first.
Yeah, I know. Well, I wanted to tell you now before you get your hopes up, thinking, "Oh, he's going to put them like that." But I do have them not far off, maybe like ninth or something. I think they'll still be top half, but I just think we're at the moment. And again, come closer to the mark, come a month's time, and Travis and Britain sign new contracts, then that'd be different. So in the top two, I have Southampton making it, and I do have Ipswich. I'm not going to drag that out because it's pretty thingy. Let's go talk about John T. John, do you want to do yours reveal? And I will press the button.
If we're going
from the bottom.
Yeah, starting from the bottom. And this was in no particular order, by the way, guys. So I'm not saying that these will finish bottom, but I also went for Sheffield Wednesday. I went for Hull, but I also went for Charlton as well. And the reason being, I think out of the three teams that have come up, I think Charlton have come up through the playoffs. They scraped past Leyton Orient. I don't think they were necessarily the best team. So I always think that there's at least going to be one team that goes down. My theory might be absolutely shot at, but Hull City, for all the reasons we've talked about, just got rid of the manager as well. Sellers, was it? And Sheffield Wednesday not paying the players. It's not looking pretty for those. Danny Roll will go and go. Yeah, it's so kind of broadly similar. I did think about Watford, but it's the unknown. In terms of the playoffs, I think I've said everybody with the exception. I've changed Middlesbrough, and I've put our very own Blackburn Rovers in there, and I've also put Birmingham in there. So Rovers, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little bit bipolar on it. I keep thinking, we're going to have a cracking season. We just need another 2 or 3 signings. I think we might retain your people like your Travises. Who knows? That's my deluded me. But, if we could retain some of those players, then who knows where we can go. I don't know. I've just got a pretty good feeling we might make the playoffs this season. Coventry, as long as Frank Lampard's at that club, I think they'll do well. Birmingham, destined for good things, got cash behind them, and I think Norwich with Manning going there, I can honestly see him. What he did with Bristol City was tremendous. So he's going into arguably a slightly better squad, so I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be in the playoffs. And then into the Premier League as automatic, same as you, Dirk, Ipswich and Southampton. Like I said to you before, I don't know if Southampton get off to a rocky start because they're under new manager. The expectations will be there, but if not there or thereabouts at Christmas, then yeah, they could finish very, very mid-table.
Over to Jacob now. What you got? What you got in your locker?
You're going to have to show me, Dirk. I can't remember.
Okay, I'll do the reveal. I'll do the reveal, and then you explain yourself. So these are the three teams that Jacob has going down. He has Oxford United, Hull City, and Charlton. Explain.
Right. I mean, in terms of Charlton, I think there's always just that. There's that one team that comes up from League One and just punched above their weight to kind of get back here.
They have Nathan Jones. Remember Nathan Jones, shithouse merchant. He's the dark arts master.
To be fair to Nathan Jones, he does do all right at this level. So maybe he might scrape him to keep up. I mean, obviously last season a lot of people had your likes of Oxford's going down in your derbies and whatnot, and obviously they're still here with us. So yeah, but I think in my eyes anyway, I look at Charlton as kind of maybe like a Wickham or something like that, who punched above the weight to come, and I think they'll be back down. Hull to me just seem an absolute mess. The owners came in, and I remember we were there, Rovers away. The first game, those owners come in and they're all there with Turkish flags, and they beat us, and they thought they were making playoffs that season, and it's just gone all pear shaped on it for them. And in terms of Oxford's, I'm thinking it might be just a bit of second season itis. Kind of maybe rolled a bit of the high coming up last season, and whether they just fall off this season, I suppose time will tell. I have seen on Twitter about the Sheffield Wednesday stuff not paying their players, and obviously I think I saw if it doesn't get sorted in the soon, then they have the option to walk away. It's in their contract, don't they, if they don't get paid relatively soon. So that could end up being a massive mess for Sheff Wednesday, but they did do really well last season, so just have to wait and see how that plays out, I suppose.
Yeah, sorry to butt in, but yeah, I was the same as. I think there's always somebody that suffers second season syndrome. I toyed with Portsmouth, are they just going to fall off a little bit? But yeah, it's interesting as well. But yeah,
well, you got your playoffs in random order. I don't know. We're going to go with, this is what Jacob has. He has Wrexham. Oh, what the heck? Rovers. What crazy? What have you been drinking? Coventry and Southampton.
Don't say bloody Wrexham, mate. That's going to kill me to come up the road from him. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, Wrexham was my curveball for sure. I just think being linked to the likes of Travis and the amount of money that's being bandied around paying him, I think it was like double, triple the wages we're kind of offering him at the minute. They've clearly got money and they're just riding a high. I do question whether it's going to end up being like. Was it Sheffield United who did the double promotion, from League One to Championship up to Prem? I mean, this would be it'd be a quadruple promotion at this point, wouldn't it? That'd be, unheard of. But I mean, as much as I don't want it to happen, Denver, I don't know. I thought I'd chuck it in there. When they're kind of banding around that money and can clearly just attract players anyway because of all the fanfare around the club and whatnot. They do stand every chance. Sunderland obviously made the playoffs just 2 years ago when they just come up from League One, so it's not unheard of. I've backed Rovers. We ended the season so well. I'm just hoping we can carry on. I hope obviously we get a few more signings. I wouldn't mind another striker. I think in terms of the midfield's looking good. If we keep Travis, if we lose Travis, we probably do need a replacement. Dolan's going to be on his way out. I know obviously I haven't really been able to talk about any of this. Apologies, but yeah, obviously we're going to need a Dolan replacement for sure. But yeah, if we start like we finished last season, there's absolutely no reason why we can't make the playoffs. Just need to hope we don't have the usual winter slump, December, January and February, and that just kills our season off. Coventry, as much as I hate them, I do think under Lampard they've done really well. And Southampton, they're a team that were were shite last season, but I mean I just fancy them to be up there again.
Are you going to say Ipswich and Birmingham for top two? I'm trying to. Oh, Sheffield United. Oh, Leicester. What?
Yeah.
No Ipswich. Oh my God.
No,
Look at that.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about Ipswich, to be honest with you. I don't know. I look at Ipswich as maybe a bit of a Luton. They got to the Prem and it was just kind of riding that high. No one fancied them to make it to the Prem. And I question whether it's just going to be a massive slump now around the club and kind of, we had a chance and we blew it. You know what I mean? Like what's happened with Luton. So Sheffield United, they were very unlucky not to make automatics this time round. So I think they'll right some wrongs this season. And then Leicester, I just look at what they did last time they were in this league, and they did just absolutely walk it. So I think they've just got the pedigree at this point to just be too good for this league. So yeah,
Do you
bit
not think Sheffield
controversial
United?
looking at mine, but yeah.
Do you not think Sheffield United are going to be a completely different proposition without Wilder?
I suppose so, but they do just have that pedigree in this league. I mean, I'd be shocked if they didn't finish in the top six. I know obviously Wilder, Sheffield United fan and lad and all that, but I mean, they were doing well before Wilder come in under other managers in the past, haven't they? So I suppose we'll see. I mean, Heckingbottom weren't too bad when he was there and
That's
stuff
true,
like that,
yeah.
was it?
Yep.
I swear, did they not miss the playoffs with the Hecky bottom? Am I crazy? The last season before, hence
I
why
can't remember. I know, but he had them up there. He had them out punching anyway. He's definitely again. They've got a good team, and they will lose key players. I don't have them up there anywhere near. I do think Wilder is Mr. Sheffield United, and the Celeste guy is a good manager. Definitely a good appointment, cheap appointment probably, but yeah, it's a thing. And Ipswich, I think Ipswich. I was on the fence with them as well. Like if they'd lost McKenna to Brentford, I thought if he goes there, they're screwed. But now that he's still there, I think he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Denver. Yeah, but bear in mind, sorry to butt in, but I mean, Luton didn't lose. What's his face?
Edwards, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's not that simple. Like I said, because they were up there and they've had the chance, they might just have their tail in between the legs now and thinking, "Fucking hell, we should have made most of it whilst we were up there."
We'll have to speak about Keith Andrews at Brentford as well. That seems a bit of a crazy appointment in my opinion, but what do I know?
Yeah, they're going down, I reckon, with him in the helm.
I would have said so. He's a set piece taker, and he did all right. But geez, that's
was he a set piece taker for Rovers? I can't remember.
No, for Brentford. No,
I know, but he was set piece coach for Brentford. But did he ever take a set piece for us when he was, No,
he can't even spell set piece.
No. But Jake, Denver, tell us yours. You can do the reveal.
So again, I'm very similar with Jacob. I cannot remember, but I have it on my phone, so do not worry. I have it all here ready. So for my bottom three, not too dissimilar to everyone else, but I have Charlton, Oxford United, and Sheffield Wednesday. I just think that the turmoil, regardless of the players who do eventually go out, it's just a toxic atmosphere. And as much as this sounds very similar to Rovers, and I'm sure all of these other fans are going to be saying a very similar situation with us, it's just I can't see it ending well. And it's a shame. It is poor, but that's the decision. Oxford United, second season syndrome, like Jacob said, and what Jonty said as well. I was so close with Portsmouth. I'm thinking in my head, could that be the case? Are they gonna recruit well enough? It's hard to say, but I just kind of going with a bit of the crowd in my head. This was very literally as we were setting up for the stream, just picking up. Thinking of looking at a list and going, yeah, I think they might be them.
FYI, I want to just jump in there. There is rumor that Kaminsky's going to
for £1 million.
And yeah, so and then Charlton, I just don't think they're going to have enough to stay up like they did the previous season. And that season they had Lyle Taylor, which eventually did go to Forest, but I just can't see them. As much as Nathan Jones is a really good manager, I don't think he can work miracles. Look at him when he went up into the Premier League with the likes of Southampton, and the squad just doesn't compare. And I think Charlton are going to be in that similar situation. Anyway, on to playoffs. I have picked. Is it down up? No, up down. Was it revealed?
I don't know.
Sixth to
Anyway,
third. Sixth to third.
I put Ipswich, Middlesbrough, Leicester, and West Brom in the down up. So yes, controversially, as much as
West Brom.
I put West Brom in there just because I don't know. Like I think they were in the conversation and then they tailed off towards the end under Mowbray, unfortunately, because of course Carlos Corberán's a fantastic manager and he ended up, of course, going to I can't remember where off the top of my head. Valencia, and they had to pick up the pieces at the end of the season. So look, I think they've got a good squad there. Of course, they've lost the likes of Adam Armstrong and so on and so forth, but I think they could be in the conversation. I've seen Coventry, of course. People put Coventry in there. They could easily be ahead of West Brom. They were like that when they yo-yoed in and out those playoffs. So there you go. Leicester, I think they will drop off. Middlesbrough on the Roy Edwards, I think. Look, you can look. If everyone's of course got the recent history of him not doing very well with Luton in the last season, but you got Luton up. I know a lot of it may be saying it's Nathan Jones' hard work and everything, but he got them into this playoffs and they won that, and we'll got to wait and see what he does with a fresh new set of ideas, new club, new players, and see what happens. Ipswich, I think, well, they've lost, of course, Liam Delap and. Who else? We don't know who they're going to be also losing in the season. And I think they'll be a very good squad. They're missing out on automatics. It's not saying they're going to be bad, but I think these two teams potentially above them could be a little bit better. And those two teams being, I put Sheffield United and Southampton up there. Ooh. And look, and I know people are saying Sheffield United, and we just had the discussion, of course, saying how don't you think there'll be a different animal the second season, another season in on the Chris Wilder, and yes, and as much as I remember Jacob saying, they did really well before, and I swear, if I'm not saying that they missed out on playoffs, they ended up finishing the 8th, 9th, 10th, or somewhere around there the season before Chris Wilder went in, and they didn't do very well. But they have got phenomenal players in there. Yes, that could change. I think there's the rumor of one of their midfielders going. I can't remember. I remember watching somewhere.
Gus Hamer or the Brazilian guy.
Yeah, going somewhere, and there will be huge losses. But look, they were in a playoff final. You've seen that happen in playoff finals where they'll go and kick on the next season. You like to give Brentford losing out to Fulham. But then you can see it go the other way when Huddersfield lost in the playoff final to was it Forest, and then they've ended up going out to League One. But I can see them just being too. Look, they were phenomenal, and most of the seasons they're in those automatic conversations, and that's that. But when you've got I can't even remember who Leeds and Burnley who just money rolled and all that, and Sheffield United have been outside the Premier League for the same amount of time as Leeds, but that. It was just one of and the point deductions that they had. I don't know how much that had an effect on their league position in the end. I don't think it mattered too much. I think if they didn't have the point deduction, they would have been still third. But they were phenomenal, and I remember when they came down to it. I remember thinking they're one of the best sides we'd seen that season. But so I just think if they get the right recruitment, they're set. They are nearly there. Where even your Southampton, your Ipswiches, your Leicesters, all these other teams are still reasonably unknown regarding what players are going to, and yeah, Sheffield United are still that, but I just think they've got a really good solid base from last season to kick on, and they know where they're at, where other teams don't know where they're at financially, and manage. I mean, they've got the manager in now. We'll see what Sellers does, but yeah. That's my take.
What about Southampton, Denver?
Southampton, I just I don't know. I have a good they were there before. They were also that team that were lucky to miss out, and they won the playoffs quite comfortably. They've got plenty of experience of championship players. You know, you Adam Armstrongs and so on and so forth, and they were here last season. You know, we could say the same for Leicester. I mean, your position with Leicester being top and how they walked the league. Southampton didn't walk the league maybe as much as Leicester did, but they were a solid outfit. We went down. I mean, Jerk will remember going down there at St Mary's, and we lost 4-0. I remember, and it was
Yeah,
quite.
I was there.
You were there for that. So, and
Uh,
the majority of these players are still there. They went on loan last season, and I know they got tanked in the Premier League when they went up. But then I'm not surprised under Chris Martin and his philosophy
yeah,
that's there.
I think that's a
Um,
justification I've put because I think that they've got some decent caliber of players still there, but they were just they'd almost thrown the towel in
yeah.
at Christmas time, hadn't they? So I just find it a real shame that they were absolute shower of shit in the Premier League, and yet we're kind of doing a bit of an injustice to the Championship by saying that the predominantly they're going to finish second, according
Yeah.
to three of us. I include myself in that. So, but I don't know. I think when you look at the foundations of the club, I think it's they'll probably do a Burnley for the next few seasons. Up and down, up and down, up and down. I think they're more likely to do the up and down than any other club that got relegated. Your Leicesters, your Ipswich, and your Southampton. I think Southampton will be the one that yo-yos a little bit, but you know what? It's a tough one to call. If I had to put everybody on the spot and just say who do you think is going to be the surprise package, whether that's they do exceptionally well this season, exceed expectations, or equally the same team could be an absolute shower of shite, who do you think that's going to be? I'll go first if that's all right. I think Preston might struggle again. I think we talk about
Is that a
Higginbottom.
surprise?
Did you say
Yeah,
Preston or did you
is
say
that a
Spud
surprise?
Bros? Did you call them Spud Bros? Or was that
Yeah,
me?
yeah. That's yeah. I mean, thank God we've got WR Ramsbottom on our tops because
But saying that,
Is that
we
a
got the
surprise
team.
package for Jonty? Because they were,
Yeah,
I mean, they had a top end to last season, didn't they? I
yeah.
mean,
You're right. Yeah, is it a surprise package? I just think. I mean, I rate Higginbottom. That's the thing. But I think they might struggle again, and I don't know why. I can't quite put my finger on it. But so I think it'll be a bit of a surprise to see them struggle again for a second season. To stay up on the last game of the season away at Bristol City, albeit I don't think they needed to win there in the end, did they? But they weren't to know that on the day. But no, I yeah. For whatever reason, I think they'll struggle again this season. Might be completely wrong. Might be because of the dodgy sponsor. But
Well, I'll jump in. I got two. I got two. One for the top end, one for the bottom. I think Swansea could fly high, and I think
Oh.
Bristol City could go down.
Oh, I
now.
like that. Now we're talking.
Because Swansea got a Modric now behind the scenes, pumping some money in, maybe get a bit of influence there, and they ended the season good under that anonymous manager Ed, the Sheeran fella. And Bristol City with Gerhard Struber coming in, he did a little bit of Barnsley. I just think it might be trying to match that of Liam Manning. I think that might catch him. But also, I will continue with your point. But Denver, where have you put Rovers in your league?
Again, I'm agreeing with you here. I think we finish bottom half of the top half of the table. If that makes sense. So I think between 12th and 8th, I think we'll end up being in there. Look, I think we'll have our flirts with the playoffs, but I can't see us. I think we could potentially be quite an exciting team. We might be going for it. We might be going for a load of goals. High intensity, as the phrase was, towards the back end of the season. And we might concede a few goals because 3 at the back doesn't fill me with confidence. I feel like if Scott Wharton or Hayden Carter are going to be our mainstays in the team and the amount of injuries they're going to be picking up, and Harry Pickering potentially playing there as well, I can see us having a lot of chop and change throughout the season. Ainsley Pears doesn't fill me with loads of confidence unless Toth ends up becoming the first choice goalkeeper. I don't know. But neither of them am I going, there. When we had Thomas Kaminsky and we had David Ryan to a degree, we've got a good pair of hands. They're good goalkeepers. I'm not I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're any Christian Waltons, for example, or a Jason Steele. But well, I'm quite. Yeah, I feel like it'd be very much. Let's go and attack them while we've conceded. Let's go and attack them while we've and back and forth, maybe quite some silly score lines. And I feel like we'll end up because of that resulting in a mid-table finish.
I just can't believe Dirk asked that question. Mr. Sit on the fence himself.
Mid-table.
Denver, where do you think Rovers are going to finish? Mid-table. Yeah, bottom of the top half.
Like mid.
On the fence.
Oh my,
I
Denver, I've
think-
missed you, mate. I've
I
missed
do
you.
think last season, I think I did put them in the playoffs. Or maybe just, I don't know. I can't remember. It doesn't matter.
No, you
Yeah,
wouldn't
I'm
have
on
done.
the
Nah.
fence. Got to go back and find that video now.
Yeah.
Jacob, what do you
I
think?
think I mean, my surprise package is right in front of you, Wrexham. Yeah, like I said, I just think with the money they're floating around and obviously the fanfare around the club, it could well happen. It could well be a quadruple promotion. We never know. If I was going to throw out like you did, Dirk, a kind of a surprise for maybe getting relegated, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ballsy and say Ipswich. I think my theory about Luton going down, and they had a taste of the Prem, and yeah, to kind of to go down, tail between the legs. Yeah, was at the promised land and they squandered it. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Ipswich as my surprise package
Can't-
down there.
can't
Not
wait.
not that I think it'll happen, but yeah.
I can't wait to see the comments on this.
I know.
Just a quick one, Denver. Is that are you wearing a Wrexham shirt there?
I do. I have owned a Wrexham shirt. I will admit, I have owned a Wrexham shirt, but I am not wearing one now. No, and I remember my Wrexham shirt. I actually lost when I was in the States, and I left it in New York somewhere. So I'm glad I did though, because now that we're in the same league, it's heresy that I own one.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I own one. I had one when they had the TikTok sponsor on the shirt. I've got photos somewhere of it, but I'm low key gutted that I've left it. But no, as at the time when that was around, they were in the National League doing really well. I'd like seeing all my friends who were Wrexham fans doing really, they were enjoying the football. I used to go down and watch Wrexham when let's face it, shite. They were awful. They had no fans in the ground. It made Ewood Park look full. It would literally be about 3,000 fans in 12,000. And I used to go down. I was 12. Like my mates used to. Let's go down and watch Wrexham. It's only 30 minutes from where I live, and it's like, yeah, go on then. I'll do it. And I've done that with clubs around in my local area, with Chester, the main rival.
Grassroots, yeah.
Grassroots, sure, yeah.
No,
And then
absolutely.
so when they were doing well, Robin, Ryan Reynolds and Ron McElhenney coming in and buying the club, and it just kind of gave a buzz in the area, and I loved it. And then they got scarily close to Blackburn, and then they played us, and I'm like, no, I don't like this. And thankfully we smashed them because all my mates were like, oh, we're gonna, and now they're in the same division as us. It terrifies me because the fact if they beat us, I'm not gonna hear the end of it. Yeah, so
They will, mate. At their ground, they'll definitely beat us because we never beat the newly promoted teams away from home.
exactly, and I'd love to, and I guarantee I want to go to that game more than anything, considering it's like a walk away from my house instead of me. Blackburn Rovers is an away day for me compared to this, and I'm not going to get a ticket to that game. Am I? Let's be honest, they're going to be sold out. But yeah, on my controversial topic, I never actually said mine. What's my take? See, everyone's going to see Birmingham doing well, but everyone's saying that, aren't they? Birmingham doing really reasonably well. I think. Honestly, I think if Pompey go down, I think they have a really good chance of Pompey not doing really well this season. They ride on the high that they did, and I just think they'll be struggling. They'll be one of the teams that most teams will go and think we can get points off them. Looking up the other side of the table, who's going to be the surprise? Who's going to be the Bristol City? I need to have a look at the table. Have we got anything, Dirk? I'm going to have to.
Well, speaking of Bristol City, while you're doing that, they've just announced Emil Rees-Jacobson from Preston North End signed, free transfer, striker.
There you go. Preston are going down.
Not controversial.
Bro's going down.
To be fair, I think we'll see a lot of Prestons leaving. Who wants to run around with Spud Bros on your shirt? I
I
mean,
was gonna say though, but a lot of fans were taking the piss when we had Totally Wicked. Like all my mates would be like, "Oh, it's awful that." But I don't know. I didn't. I wouldn't say I liked it, and I'm glad we changed it. But I've seen a lot worse. Spud, it's the font that
yeah,
doesn't.
that's pretty bad. I'd be gutted if we had anything. If I had spuds on my shirt, I'd be worried.
I can't think of anything going the other way. I think
Rovers surprise entry.
Yeah.
I think Hull won't have as bad of a season as people are making out to be. I don't think they'll be like challenging for playoffs, but I think they'll be. I think they'll do.
Comfortable.
When we came up or whatever, we did all right. I don't think they'll be flirting with relegation too much. I think they'll be okay.
Well, there you have it, folks. There you bloody have it. That was our deep dive into Blackburn Rovers so far this summer. Of course, players coming in, players going out, and of course, a new change of direction with a new CEO on the agenda. But what's, of course, in store around the corner? We're going to keep you bang up to date with all that right here at Blackburn Rovers Seas. Meanwhile, we are working on some other stuff behind the camera. That's right, and I need your help. And to explain that help, we're going to throw you back over to Eddie to talk about some 150 Blackburn Rovers memories. Eddie, tell them all about it.
Hey, with Eddie back once again, but this time I don't want your money. No, I want your name, your voice, your Rovers memories. That's right. We started a social media project over on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, showcasing 150 Blackburn Rovers memories. I've asked fans from around the globe to drop their Rovers memories, but of course I need more of them. That's right. 150 is a big number and we need some more, and that's where you come in. That's right. Whether it's the best player, best goal, best shirt, best moment in regards to Blackburn Rovers, I want to hear about it. So if you want to do that, again, follow that link. There is also one down in the description, and drop it in there. Of course, that memory will be featured over on Twitter on a day of its own, and then of course together in a master video when we drop it on November the 5th to celebrate Blackburn Rovers 150th anniversary. So please do me a favour and drop your Rovers memory. But anyway, once again, back to Dirk to wrap up.
Thanks again, Eddie. Appreciate that. And again, I do appreciate any memories that we can get from you guys. Simple stuff. Just grab your cell phone, tell us about your memory, and of course, upload it to the folder there. And of course, you could feature it on our socials, of course, and a master video, hopefully on November the 5th, where we get all 150 memories together and drop it on the channel for everyone to look back on and enjoy the memories. So please, please, please do that. But that's all we've got here today. Of course, a massive podcast, our first of the summer and our 150th year. Hopefully, we'll be back very, very soon to talk more things Blackburn Rovers. But again, make sure you subscribe. Smash the like, smash the thumbs up. We see you too soon, very, very soon, of course. Until then, we're out.